Yeah. Blackjack. Life is like a game of cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Yeah. Blackjack. To play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. What's happening? It's your boy DeLRAY, Richardson, platinum songwriter, platinum artist, StraightGameTV. Thank you for coming back again. Thank you for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the video. I come to drop a phenomenal gem on you today, because it's always been said that the late great Tupac Shakur, one of the reasons why he worked so hard and worked so aggressively once he got out of prison is because Tupac wanted to leave death row. And I'm here to tell you, man, categorically, undeniably, that was false, because Tupac wasn't even on death row. And I showed you that in the last couple of videos that I made, and you might want to go back and check that out. But the reason why Tupac Shakur worked so hard was because Tupac Shakur, to get out of prison, he gave up power of attorney to Interscope Records. I'm going to say it again. I don't really think you understand what I'm saying when I say what I just said. I said Tupac Shakur, to get out of prison, gave up power of attorney. And that would mean that they would be able to effectuate any agreements and documents and things that they needed to do, whether Tupac lived or while he was living or even after he died, in regards to his publishing and his recording contract. It's powerful. Tupac knew this. And so when Tupac hit the pavement, that's why when he went into the studio, he did All Eyez On Me, and approximately, by most accounts from my main man, J Flex, who was over at Death Row at that time, who was signed to Death Row, in 4 days. He did All Eyez On Me in 4 days. Tupac knew what he had to do in order to, number one, pay the $1.4 million bail money back, but more importantly, to gain control of his record company, his publishing, and all of the things that he had sacrificed by giving up power of attorney. Exclusive, y'all. Because I've never heard nobody ever say this before. Because they didn't know. Everybody came up with 5 different notions. He wanted to leave death row. He wasn't getting paid his royalties. Suge was jerking everybody, and he knew about it. None of that had anything to do with Tupac and his motivation. Tupac's motivation came from the fact that he had gave up his power of attorney, and he wanted that back. And so what I want you to understand is I'm going to read it to you right now, because I don't think nobody else has ever read this to you or shared this with you, shared this information with you. So please sit down, sit tight, and like I said, share this information, man, because there was a lot of lies and misinformation that's been given in regards to Tupac. And I'm here to give you the facts. Nothing more and nothing less. I have no dog in the fight. And so, without further ado, I'm going to give it to you like this. Further reference is made to the agreement dated January 1st, 1993 between Shakur and Warner Tamberlane Publishing Corporation on its own behalf and on the behalf of Interscope Pearl Music regarding the songwriting services of Shakur, as amended hereinafter, referred to as the publishing agreement. The recording agreement and the publishing agreement are sometimes hereinafter collectively referred to as agreements. In the event that the recording agreement and or publishing agreement should terminate and any new or successor agreement be commenced between Shakur, either directly or by a party furnishing his recordings and or songwriting services, and any third party, including any party hereto, then such new agreements shall still, for the purpose of this agreement, be referred to herein and based on the subject matter thereof as the recording agreement and or publishing agreement. That means that no matter what Tupac did, until he paid what you will understand as the $1.4 million that Interscope and Atlantic Records put up as part of his bail to get him out of jail, no matter what he signed or who he signed with, until that money was paid back off, that agreement that he would sign with anybody would be attached to this agreement that's getting him out of jail. And so that you understand, once again, this agreement came after that, I would call it bogus agreement that he had signed, and basically saying that he was going to sign with Death Row. Mind you, that information that came out, you know what I mean, the public and everybody saw that, and yeah, that's what they wanted everybody to see. But this is the agreement that really did the talking, because they're going back to January 1st, 1993, when Tupac first signed his record deal. So the thing that he signed in September of 1995 with that Death Row deal memo was just a piece of paper that they were writing on, basically, because it couldn't supersede the contract that he already had in place. Remember, I told you before, the Interscope contract would have had to been voided out in order for that Death Row deal memo to even be legally valid. And so listen to this. It says, Shakur is currently incarcerated in state prison in New York. An appeal of Shakur's criminal conviction is now pending, pursuant to which Shakur can be released on bail if certain economic accommodations acceptable to the applicable court, the court, are concluded, specifically by order of Justice Ernest Rosenberger of the Appellate Division, 1st Department, dated May 9th, 1995. So basically, Tupac was available to get out of jail from May 9th, 1995, and he didn't get out of jail on bail until October 12th, 1995. And it says Shakur was duly admitted to bail in the sum of $1.4 million as further described in such bail order. So basically, he was available to get out on bail. Check this out. It is acknowledged by the parties hereto that various monies in the form of royalties and advances against royalties, the Shakur income, on the date hereof are, and after the date hereof shall become due to Shakur and or ODG Records, which was Tupac's record label, pursuant to the agreements as specified below. Interscope and Atlantic Records agree to make the financial commitments necessary to effectuate Shakur's release on bail in consideration for Shakur's and ODG's Records agreement as a joint and several obligation to reimburse y'all, listen to me now, to reimburse Interscope and Atlantic Records for any monies so paid by either of them to secure such obligation with an assignment of, and to allow such monies to be paid to be recouped out of the Shakur income. Basically, Tupac, like I told you before, was his own man, but this is the actual agreement effectuating everything that needed to take place in regards to that. Check it out. And this is the actual bombshell that I'm talking about, why Tupac worked so hard. You had to understand this. And this is the part that I was telling you earlier that most people have gotten wrong for the last 27 years as to why Tupac worked so hard, as to why he was, so focused when he got out of prison. And I want you to understand and listen to what this says. Like I said, it wasn't because he was trying to leave Death Row. He wasn't signed to Death Row. Tupac had gave up power of attorney, and he needed and wanted that back, because from that perspective, he had no control, or he wasn't going to get paid no royalties until he paid that money back to them. Listen to this. In addition to the Atlantic expenditures, if any, Interscope shall make various payments. The Interscope expenditures to Shakur and or ODG Records, Atlantic, pursuant to the guarantee set forth in Section 5. The court and other persons on Shakur's behalf and in connection with Shakur's release on bail. So the money that they would be putting up to the court and basically for his bail, Interscope, Atlantic Records, so on and so forth. Basically, they're basically stating that here they're saying Shakur and ODG Records each hereby agrees to pay to Interscope promptly upon the payment by Interscope of any Interscope expenditures an amount equal to the Interscope expenditures, and to secure such obligation, each hereby assigns to Interscope and consents to the recoupment of such amount out of the Shakur income up to and including the actual amount of the Interscope expenditures. In connection with such assignment, Shakur and ODG Records each hereby grants to Interscope a power of attorney, irrevocable and coupled with an interest to execute on behalf of Shakur and ODG Records any and all such documents necessary to effectuate such an assignment. Each of Shakur and ODG Records agrees to execute and deliver such further documents and instruments and do such other acts and things as Interscope may reasonably request from time to time to fully affect the purposes of this agreement and such assignments, notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in the following provisions. It is acknowledged that the Shakur income shall be first applied to reimburse and recoup the Atlantic expenditures, if any are outstanding at the time any Shakur income is payable, and then shall be applied to reimburse and recoup Interscope expenditures. And this is signed by Tupac Shakur as the president of his own record label, Out the Gutta Records, Tupac Shakur the artist, Interscope Records, and the Atlantic Recording Corporation. So there you have it, y'all. That's the reason why Tupac worked so hard when he got out of prison. And so if anybody, and this is why I do this, because I was so blessed to consider myself a friend. I wasn't as close as most of the people that hung around him every day, but we knew each other. Like I said, I sold 1 million records with him, and we talked about a few things, you know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, that's the reason why I do this, because the truth should be known. You know what I mean? Tupac was his own man. Tupac was his own entity from day one. From day one he signed his record contract, he was his own entity. He wasn't signed with DeathRow. He was signed to Interscope Records and under his own label, which was Out the Gutta Records. These are the facts. You can't change them. History shall know that Tupac Shakur was his own man. And like I said, my thing is, I think he got caught up with the lifestyle, the gangster thing, right? And yeah, unfortunately, things happen. Your boy DeLRAY, Straight Game.